Welcome back to another Outlaw walkthrough. Today we are going to be discussing conditionalities, not only how to create them, but how to set them up and how to modify them. So we're going to be talking about them with file-line connected variables and also with your regular variables using the list function. So let's get into it. Right now I am just in a test template. If you don't know how to navigate to templates, you'll just want to go back to your little Outlaw up here on the top, and on the left-hand side, there will be a templates section. When you first add in a variable, and let's go ahead and start with the file line connected variable, you're going to need to pull in either a variable from file line that is a drop down or a yes no toggle field, just so that you can get that conditionality from the various items that you can select. A question we get a lot is, why can't we pull a conditional value from, like, say, maybe a text box? It's because we need something that's predefined, and the drop downs and yes nos are predefined either with yes no or unknown, or the drop downs might have, if you're looking at states, they might have all the states in there. So we know exactly which fields are going to be pulled in, and we can make conditional values based on that. Whereas a text box obviously is a free text field, and we're not sure what anybody's going to write into there, so we can't just make a conditionality based off of that. So the first things first, let's go ahead and start a new paragraph here. We can come over here to our elements, and we can go ahead and see all the different connected variables that we're already using. I already have a connected variable in here that would be a good candidate for a conditionality. And so if you didn't have one already, you could add one in. So let's just go ahead and do that here. You would hit your bracket first, like you always do when you're putting in a variable. And then we're going to hit plus FV for file line. And then if we come and look over here in our section, I don't know, let's go to case summary. You can see here we have a state field. So let's go ahead and pull in this state here. Wow, it could help if I could spell. We could pull that in, and now you will see I have another variable that I can make a conditionality from. Something also to note, once they have been pulled in, you can also come over here. I can hit delete this whole paragraph. This is going to ultimately delete my section. You will see here, though, that I still have the ability to come into a paragraph and pull in this deleted case summary state as a conditional value. This is really great because sometimes you will want to filter and pull in these conditional values, but you don't necessarily need the incident type or accident type showing up on your actual contract or template. So you can add it in once, delete it, and then it'll still show up over here. Now, of course, if I actually added this in by accident and you think, oh, I'm never going to use that, you can just come over here and you can delete it, and then you don't have that variable anymore. So that is an option there. So now that we have in a variable that we can use for conditionality, let's actually make it a conditional paragraph. So I've just added in a long paragraph here, and let's go ahead and say we actually want to start a new paragraph here. And then for this history part, let's go ahead and move that up. And we're going to have two different things working here. So when you add a conditional value, you will need to be in the section, and you will need to come here to conditions. If you don't see something that says conditions, where you can actually add a new condition, that means that you have a variable in your template that isn't able to be used as a conditional. So you'll just need to add that in or create one, which we will talk about a little bit later. So you can come in here, we're going to select intake, and then for this paragraph, let's say I only want to see this for medical malpractice. You can see here now that I actually code this out. This is updated, so this paragraph will only show when I'm back in my file line and that accident type is selected malpractice. Now you can, if you want to use this for maybe dog bite and like an unrelated practice area, anytime it's one of those from those drop downs, this is going to show. So you have options, especially if you're going to use the same paragraph for multiple practice areas or maybe multiple business clauses or different things like that. You have the ability to build that in instead of doing an individual paragraph for each conditionality. Which brings me to my next point. A lot of times clients ask, I just have, maybe one word or Maybe if you're using different gender for, different client, you want to do he, she, they, you can build that in as well. What you would have to do if you wanted to use this same paragraph for another case type or another gender, in this case is I'd have to paste it in, and then I'd have to select this again, and I'd have to say, okay, now I want this to show for, wrongful death. So, and I want to, maybe I want to update this. So it says the quick red fox, right? So just that one word between red and brown is changing. However, you're not able to focus in on just one word in your paragraph. And that's why you need to basically just copy and paste in that paragraph and add that in. So that's kind of how you add in these conditionalities. Now, if I wanted to come down here to another one, I can still add in more of these ones. I can even go in and select all of these if I wanted to. And you can also, if this is empty, maybe if you had something where it's like, okay, if the incident type isn't selected yet, or maybe something's not filled out on your file line, this will still show up when it's empty or maybe unknown or something like that. So that is an option there. We're going to go ahead and delete this one because we're going to save this paragraph for another variable here. So if you're not connecting to FileVine, you can also add in just a regular variable. And let's go ahead and do that. So for here, I'm going to come here, and to add in a regular variable up here, you can either click on this, or you can add in this pound sign here. And once we do that, let's just call this list. You can name this literally whatever you want. If we were going to do maybe to filter this based on different offices, we can do that. So we have different ones. And the next thing to note is once you create this variable, you do have to click into it, and you do have to change it to a list variable. This will allow you to make it conditional. So you would just come in here, and like it says, inner options, one per line. So let's just do, we'll do Texas, Arizona, we can just go from there and just use those two. From here, you can also have a default value. Maybe most of the time you're based in Texas, but every so often you do an Arizona contract. So you can actually make the default value be Texas here. And if you wanted to change this display name, you could call this list of offices here. And then you can also assign this to a party. Right now, we don't have any party variables in here, which we can talk about in another video, but you could assign this to a specific person within this contract if you wanted to. So we're just going to hit update. Once I do that, you will see that now I have another condition that I can pull from. So, and I will say here that I added this one in and called it list, but as you can see, they automatically get added in as a text field, and then I manually have to go in and I have to select list. So just because I'm calling it list doesn't mean it's going to be a list, and so you would have to come in here and manually update it. All right, and like before, we don't want to have to see that all the time, because if you leave this on your template as a regular variable, you will have to come in and fill in this variable before you can move along your template out of the workflow that it's in, from setup to review to signing to so on. So let's go ahead and delete those out. And then we're going to come here and we're going to select our new variable, and we're going to say we only want to see this when it's Texas. So that is great. I can come down here. This is basically saying, you're only going to see this paragraph when it's Texas. Now, something to note with numbering. So if I were to throw on bullets here, typically, if I put it on up here, this is going to start with 1, obviously. When I am working with conditional values, you will get this hashtag next to it, and it says, basically conditional logic will be determined by the number on the section. So if I wanted, obviously, this first paragraph to be 1, and I want this one to be 2, but depending on where this is in my office, this is going to show up or not show up. So this could either be 2, or this could not be anything at all because it might not be showing up. So that's why you're seeing this little hashtag here. And if I added it to this one as well, this has conditionalities as well. Up here. So that's why you're seeing that little pound sign. All right. So that is basically a quick overview. You can always come over to your elements and you can review, your variables here. These are going to be your purple codes, and then you can also review your connected ones as well. And then you can know what is in your template as far as what you're pulling in for conditionals. And if you needed to delete anything, like we already showed before, you can just use the little trash can. So as we were talking about conditional logic, I just wanted to show you a template that was a little bit more fleshed out. So this might help some people kind of visualize how to build in all these different conditionalities. So this is actually a complaint document, and I have all of my file bind connected codes. I don't have any regular variables, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. You can see here that I have built in a couple of different sections here or paragraphs depending on what state they're in. You can see I'm doing Illinois and Texas here. So you can see obviously this is pulling in. And now if I look down at this complaint, the complaint outlines are technically the same for these states. Let's just pretend. And so for each paragraph of this complaint, I just made one paragraph for Illinois, one for Texas. So you can see that nothing else has changed really, except for maybe this is saying, state of Illinois, state of Texas. That's like the only word that's changing in these, but I still need to make a brand new paragraph so that, I can see those. So that's kind of what it looks like there. Not all these paragraphs required state language, state specific language. So you can see some aren't conditional at all, and they're just, some are using this conditionality here. So I just wanted to show you that on a template that it was a little bit more fleshed out, so it might make sense for some other folks.